Hello, everybody. A little bit subdued today because we are in the Westwood Public Library. Tom Leyden along with Lauren Watson from Watson College Consulting. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
You have to speak with a very dulcet tone when you're in these environs. You don't want somebody to shoot you a side eye from the information desk saying, tone it down in the corner. Now, we can probably talk a little bit louder, but it's great that you're with us. And Lauren is a repeat customer here. She was, for a long time, atop the leaderboard in terms of those who listened to the podcast.
Yes.
You've been unseated, which is good for me, I guess. More people
I'm okay
are
with
listening.
it. I'm okay with it.
But it just goes to speak to the fact that a lot of people are interested in what you do. We have a big announcement to make during this podcast. We're both super excited about it. Lauren has said I am her best hype man, so I will go down that alley. I will go down that lane eventually. But let's just get caught up on the world of, college admissions. Are we in the off season? Are you about to heat up? Where are things cooking right now? We're in July right now.
Well, it's interesting. The off season seems to no longer exist. I've been doing this for long enough that there were years ago, there were real quiet times during the calendar year when there was not a lot of action. But now the entire process has kind of oozed all over the calendar. So right now I'm working fairly intensely with a batch of rising seniors who are eager to do as much work as they can before the school year starts on their applications. I'm meeting a lot with families of rising juniors who are interested in trying to figure out what it is that I do and what is the value in doing this. And so it's busy. It's busy. It's always busy.
I'm going to set the stage, take you back in time. The first time we did a podcast together, to give you a real world association, I had a daughter who at the time was in second semester junior year. So now we are a good 18 months past that. She has gone through her senior year. She has made her commitment to go to Michigan State. She worked with you, and this is where my endorsements begin. Parents, your kids don't want to listen to you, okay? This is the bottom line, particularly during a very stressful time when everybody wants to be on the same track and at least be on the same page about where you're going, what the next step is, what you need to know. And it's very difficult to get a 17, 18-year-old kid when you are that kid's parent to pay attention to you, to give you anything more than, yeah, mom, yeah, dad, I get it. And I can't tell you how valuable it was to have that objective third party just to insert herself in the process, whether or not it's an expert or not. And then you add to that the fact that Lauren knows so much about the business of college admissions and can educate not only you, but the kid in terms of, hey, listen, this is what you need to do. And we found it incredibly valuable. And I want to say thanks, by the way.
It was my pleasure. Hi, Dahlia.
A little shout out to Dee. Congratulations on your college admissions. But what's the thing you most experience when a kid is introduced to you at that age? Because you are that objective third party who is able to help the parents keep their kids on the right track.
The thing that I experience most in my dynamic with students is that for many of them, and it depends on how old they are when they're introduced to me, but for many of them, someone like me is the personification of a process that is really intimidating and scary. And so I work really hard to be, as the kids say, chill as possible. And my explanation to the students of what my role is to tell them that I want to be their companion through what is an incredibly exciting, joyful process. That's one of the pillars of the way that I approach the work, is to remind folks, parents and students alike, that it's an incredible luxury and privilege that you get to go to college, and that this whole process gets so much negative attention, right? There's so much said and written about through the lens of this is something that happens to you as a family and as a student. And in fact, it's something that you get to do. And so if I'm successful in shifting a family and a student's perspective, then the student starts to see me as a guide and an ally.
Advocate.
An advocate, exactly. And honestly, what you said in the beginning about how kids would rather listen to me than their parents. I mean, that's a tale as old as time, right? Like, let's not forget, I have 3 teenage kids. And that I'm starting to see that in my house. But I really think that the value in working with me or anybody else who does this type of work for families is actually really rooted in the idea that if you bring in a third party, you're protecting your relationship with your kid. That in these last precious 18 months that you have with your child living in your house, right? They're about to launch. Wouldn't it be great to not have the college process take over your family life and sort of override all the moments and all the conversations that you have at the dinner table? You can, if you do it this way, you can contain the questions and the stress and the process a little bit so that it does not sort of interfere with the relationship that you've built with your kid their entire life.
Absolutely true. So let's not bury the lead. Let's share with people what we're doing. Because one of the conversations that Lauren and I had, actually going back now to, I think, October or November of last year, was the inevitable ebb and flow. And now you said it's busy all the time, but there's that inevitable ebb and flow of the rush related to the college admissions process. And you're like, how can I be better in terms of regulating my own income, but also be available to more people? And the solution was, or at least our next step was, let's be smart about educating parents early of freshmen and sophomores who have kids just entering high school who've never been through the process before, perhaps, or maybe even need a refresher course about what they need to know, the timeline of like, hey, listen, here's what you should be worried about now as they're freshmen and sophomores, and here's stuff that don't think about. And that's what launched this new, what we hope will be a series of presentations. The first one's going to be on October 3rd. We're going to host it at Neroli in the back room. And it's aimed at parents. This is not a kids thing. This is aimed at parents. We want parents of freshmen and sophomores in high school to come, have a great meal, listen to Lauren's presentation, and just have your eyes opened to what you need to know. And you will leave at ease. And I want to get, now that I talked about it for a minute, your thought process on why you think this is important to sort of educate the parents.
I think it's really critical in order to keep everyone calm, to make sure that parents have the information that they need in order to understand, as you said, what matters and what doesn't. And so much of the way that I do this work is in the interest of protecting students' mental and emotional well-being, right? I talk about that a lot, that the way that you approach this process as a family will dramatically impact the way that your kid experiences it. And we're really fortunate to live in a community where, for the vast majority of kids, it is a foregone conclusion that you are going to college, right? That is sort of the cultural expectation. And so your students, whether they're at Westwood High School or any other in the area, they're having conversations at school, they're hearing about this, and their collective blood pressure is going up and up as they rise through the ranks of high school. But they're going to look to their parents, as children always do, to be the horizon line. I really believe that if I can get in front of parents when their kids are young and help them understand the ways that they can launch this process for their students in a really healthy and steady, informed way, that they will not fall victim to like falling into the stress vortex that comes, as you said, when the crunch happens. And so I'm always working to do what I can to help parents understand what is coming down the road and helping them or enabling them to be that horizon line, right? If you stay calm and you're not panicking, you will therefore then help your child not panic.
So what does this involve? We're going to greet you at Neroli on the 3rd. And this is a no boundaries thing, by the way. If you're someone who's listening to this in Westwood, you're welcome. If you're somebody who's listening to this in Needham, you're welcome. If you're someone who's listening to this in Foxborough or Sharon or Easton or pick a town, you are welcome to join us. This is really a first come, first serve thing, because obviously this is something that affects communities beyond Westwood. But we will greet you at Neroli. You will have a wonderful meal there, and you're going to get the opportunity to watch Lauren walk you through what, a 25-minute, 30-minute presentation? What should people expect in that regard?
I'm hoping to give people a really clear sense of timeline, right? I think people really find comfort in concrete information and understanding what's going to happen so that they're not caught off guard by it. But I'm also going to talk a lot about the ways in which you can set your foundation as a parent to enable your student to move through the process in a way that will help them feel empowered and excited instead of stressed and defeated, right? A lot of students kind of move through the process in a way where at the end of it, they might feel a little bit less than, right? Because this is, for a lot of students, they move through this process in a way that it feels like a judgment. But if you can have conversations with your child that help them understand that no matter what happens, your love for them, for example, will always remain the same, right? We'll talk a lot about sort of things you can do as a parent to insulate your kid from the negative things that can happen.
Bottom line, it should be an informative, useful, engaging, and fun night where not only do you get good food and drink, but you get some great information. And if you know Lauren's story, and of course we featured Lauren's story in the October issue of last year's Westwood Living, she is a breast cancer survivor. So brilliantly, you said, hey, why don't we take some of the funds that we raised from this night and donate that to the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation. So you should feel good about that too, that as you join us, first one is October 3rd. We'll see how it goes. Some of your money will be going to support that. So
yes,
your advocacy in that arena has also expanded since we last spoke. You said, you know what, this sort of inspired me to do some other things, including you spoke where? You went in front of the State House, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
All right, wrap that up. How did that go?
I answered the call from Susan G. Komen. They sent an email and said, we're running some advocacy days at the State House in October of last year, and would you like to participate? I had never done anything remotely like that before. I mean, I speak publicly a lot in my work, but I'd never done it outside of my lane, and it was a remarkable experience, honestly. I was partnered with another breast cancer survivor who had done this many, many times, and we were tasked with approaching all kinds of different legislators, and they listened to our stories, and we were advocating for a piece of legislation that has since passed that was designed to give more women access to the type of imaging that frankly saved my life.
Look at you, 1 for 1 in terms of getting it passed.
Hey, sign me up. Put me in, Coach.
Pretty good. Well, great job in that regard, and I'm looking forward to what we're doing on October 3rd. This is limited space, so you want to act quickly. You want to go to this website, bit.ly/Watson First Steps, bit.ly/Watson First Steps. That's where you get your tickets. We're looking forward to welcoming you, and trust me when I tell you this will be some of the best money you invest if you have kids who are just entering the high school journey. Lauren, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to doing it.
Me
Should
too.
be a lot of fun. That is Lauren Watson from Watson College Consulting. Of course, you can always reach her. How? What's your email address? How do you like people to call you? What do you want to do? How do they reach out?
Everybody can reach me through my website, which is watsoncollegeconsulting.net.
And as always, you probably think I read this, people, but I don't. I just rattle this off. If there's somebody else you'd like me to have a conversation with, just reach out to me at Leyden@bestversionmedia.com. I'll find that person, have a conversation with them, and then share it with you right here on the Westwood Living Podcast Network. But for now, from the second floor of the Westwood Public Library with Lauren Watson, I'm Tom Leyden saying so long, and thanks so much for listening. See you October 3rd.